All right, guys, it's been a while since I've dropped a video. I'm sorry about that. It's just the whole recording process and editing and all that is a bit of it's not too fun. So I've got tons of footage, but I just haven't got around to editing it. I mean, the video that I want to make for you today is about buying new cars. You know, actually buying a good second-hand car. What sort of things to look out for, and the pitfalls and all that, right? Because I get a lot of phone calls from people that I know around, messages. Brian, I'm looking for a second-hand car. I've got little budget and I want to buy a car, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. And by the way, sorry about the noise behind this guy here. It's quite freezing cold, so I've just got that guy just to more or less keep me nice and warm. Uh, so the first thing that I'll say you should do when you're getting a new secondhand car is look at MOT history. You know, for a secondhand car, you want to be buying something older, like 2009 should be the newest car that you buy. Uh, but what you want is a car with stacks and stacks of MOT history. Why is that important? One, basically, it tells you that somebody else has done the work before you. So, for example, let's just say if you're buying a Golf 2009, you know that the ball joints have been changed. The chances are the clutch as well is gone through uh, bushes, discs. You know what I mean? So, if you're looking for a car with old MOT history where there's been a lot of failures and advisories, basically that's a win-win for you. You know what I mean? That means that you're not the first person to have to change that. Like, for example, recently I fixed a car for somebody, and this car was a 2013, right? Alternator had gone. Alternator is about £300. You know what I mean? So if that person had got an older car, that alternator will still be nice and new, right? So it saves yourself a lot of money. So look for MOT failures, advisories. It means that somebody else has done the work, and you don't have to do much. The next thing that I'll say look for is some, like the seals on the side. Make sure that they're not rusted out, and just behind the wheel arches, make sure that there's no rust and stuff like that, because that will definitely cost you a lot of money trying to get that welded and sorted out. Um, and if you can as well, like what I'll say is get underneath the car, look at the wishbone ball joints if you can, see that the bolt is still in there. Look at the mounts as well, the bushes. If you can as well, have a look at the drive shaft, see if the bolt is still on. And just general rust underneath. Then the next thing that I would normally do is just pull the dipstick out, hold the dipstick up, have a look. If you've got a torch, shine a light, see if there's any metal filings on there, because if there's metal filings on there, that means trouble. Something is going on in there. Open your oil cap as well, like, where you fill the oil. Just check for, it's like mayonnaise look. What that tells you is that somewhere, somehow, oil is mixing with water in the engine, right? But the thing is, mayonnaise doesn't necessarily mean that it's a blown head gasket. But what it could mean is that that car just does a lot of short, regular trips. So you got to be careful with that test, with that check, because you might walk away from a decent car thinking that it's got mayonnaise, but um, it's just condensation. You know what I mean? So that yellowish thing or the mayonnaise thing is called emulsification. So that means that oil and water, they've kind of married together, and then they form this mayonnaise look. So I mean, that same test you can just do on the dipstick as well. If there's oil in the sump, there will be mayonnaise on there as well. So make sure that you just check that. Then the next bit is to just check for your coolant. You're looking for the same thing as well, mayonnaise. Making sure that there's no yellow sludgy mayonnaise looking like thing. You know what I mean? Because that will mean that somehow oil and coolant are mixing, which shouldn't be happening. But at the same time as well, it could mean that like the head gasket is gone, but it doesn't always mean that the head gasket is gone. It might mean that the oil cooler is gone. There's most of these cars, they've got something called an oil cooler, which cools down the oil. So it's like there's a bit of a heat exchange process. And if the gasket in between the kind of perishes, some oil will seep into the coolant and you'll see it in the coolant bottle. Then the next thing that I'll say is just pop your head inside the engine bay, have a look, see if there's any oil leaks around, especially between the cylinder head and the rocker cover, because normally that gasket gets hard and brittle, then it allows oil to seep through. So when you're looking around the engine block, you'll see there's a lot of weird oils and all that. Then the next bit that I'll be checking for is oil just around the gearbox side, just to make sure that the rear oil seal isn't leaking, because that becomes a bit of a nightmare, because that means that you have to take the gearbox out and bloody. It's a lot of work. But you do the same thing in the front of the engine where the alternator is. So you're looking at where that pulley is, the flywheel pulley, trying to see if there's any oil around there as well, because that will mean that your main oil seal, the front main oil seal, is leaking as well, which is a lot of work involved, meaning that you'll have to sort of more or less do a timing belt change to get to that oil seal. There's no other way of getting around to it without doing that. And you're checking for your coolant leaks as well, so you're looking around there. If you can follow all the pipes, see if there's any residue of your coolant there, because like coolant is the is the lifeblood of the engine. If there's any leaks, that could cause catastrophic engine failures. Then lastly, I'll say, if you've got a scan code, or take someone with a scanner, scan that OBD or the ECU. Make sure that there isn't any hidden fault codes, because what most people will do is before you come to view the car, they'll just wipe off the codes, remove all the engine lights, and you'll come in like, oh, there's no engine lights. Then you drive 2 or 3 days, then bing, it comes on. So make sure that you scan the engine. I mean, I recently took my niece to check for a car, and this car basically been under the water. No lights out there, but the fact that I scanned it, I found that like basically the car had been submerged under the water, which the guy initially didn't disclose. But the moment I say that there's something wrong with the ECU, he's telling me that there's some corrosion or like shots here and there. Like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, this car was flood damaged. So just make sure that you just check those few basic things. I mean, I know it's a lot, and I think next time, like, I've got a car that's coming in, that's the car that actually prompted me to do this video. When it comes in, I'll do a walk around of what to look out for, like visually, because it makes more sense when you're looking at it. This car is a basket case, but hopefully that helps someone. All right, guys, remember, like and subscribe. These videos are free. It doesn't cost you anything, just to click that button and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. Thank you, guys.